Hey guys, this is Steve with Milson Perspective. This video is targeted towards the person that's attending One Shepherd School of Leadership for the first time, but also for anybody else who's just interested in different load carry systems and how they work and kind of what they're for. So, One Shepherd put out a kind of a short video discussion on load bearing kits. I offered to do one on mine, and they asked me to do so, so here we are. I'm going to do 3 videos, and each one is going to focus on one of the 3 main types of kit that I've used over the years, and what the purpose of each one was. Highlight pluses and minuses, all that fun stuff. I'm going to release the first one before the semester starts, hopefully in time to let some people do some last minute purchases if they need to, and then the other 2 will be after the semester. The main reason for that is this video will cover what I recommend the new person to purchase for those who don't have anything. If you already have what you think you want, bring it. One Shepherd is the perfect place to confirm or deny that you made the right decisions in your load carry system, specifically for light infantry dismounted type operations. So that said, each video is going to start with the equipment carried and then progress to how it's carried. So if you've ever, grabbed the wrong backpack for school, maybe like you bought a massive backpacking backpack by accident, and you showed up and everybody else looked like you were dumb because you had the wrong thing. Well, it'd be silly in the same way to choose a load carry system without first understanding the equipment that has to be carried. So without any further ado, we'll dive into the first episode. Okay, so this first set of equipment I put together for Operation Eastwind. For those who may have not heard of that, it was a 9-day continuous operation airsoft simulation set in about the year 1990. The premise was what the world would look like if the Cold War had continued into that period. So I attended as an American, part of an American communications company. So all my equipment had to be period correct, all that fun. And that didn't detract from the usefulness of it. I was already using, this is going to be LC-2 based equipment in other airsoft simulations. And this really gave me an opportunity to prove the system and refine it. So missions typically we were told missions were going to last about 8 hours. They often got extended to 12 to 16 hours. We did have tracks and wheeled vehicles, but most of our missions were foot-based. So that is specifically what this equipment is set up to handle. So starting along the bottom, that is my first line kit. So that's my little E&E pouch. You can see starting at the left, there's a trash bag. That's for building shelter, various other things. Have an emergency compass, signal mirror, matches, mini bit glider, a couple packets of MRE poop or toilet paper, a couple Trioxane tablets, and then a couple water purification tablets. With that, I knew that I could get myself quite a ways if necessary, if I had to drop all my other kit. And that more or less has stayed the same. The pouch has changed over the years, but that is pretty much the equipment that I still carry today. So starting on the left, kind of in the middle, I have an MRE over there. Our unit SOP was we always had to have an emergency MRE on us on patrol, and that actually saved our butts many times when our missions got extended, because we could just eat that and keep going. So we'd usually eat before we stepped off and when we got back, but we would add that in if we got extended. The 2-quart canteen below it have one of the chemical warfare, the gas mask drinking straws with it. I've since updated the bite valve to something that would not be period correct, but I used those together so that it was kind of a pseudo camelback. I'd already had quite a bit of experience out in the woods with camelbacks and thought it was kind of silly to have to stop paying attention to my job on the patrol to have to take a drink of water. In my experience, that had made me less hydrated because I'd just skip the water because I was paying attention to other things. So that's my strategy to stay hydrated while walking. It's a soft canteen, which makes it a pain in the butt to use if you're just using it around camp, like at mealtime. However, the soft side makes it so that it doesn't slosh around and make noise when it's half full. Contrasting with that, next to it is a single quart canteen, canteen cup, and canteen stove. The primary use of those was mealtime, heating up meals. I typically only use the single quart because it is hard-sided while stopped. It's much easier to drink out of holding it than the 2 quart, but it also will make noise if half full. So I typically would drain the whole thing in one sitting between cooking and drinking and eating, so that I was always carrying it either empty or full. The canteen cup and stove are extremely valuable when it's cold out. It's real fast to fill that thing up out of your canteen, build a tiny fire underneath it. In a few minutes, you have a hot beverage. Great for morale, great to fend off that hypothermia. Next to those are my navigation and communication tools. So for one of the east winds I attended, I ended up being an RTO, and my world was pretty much that notebook and that SOI sheet and that map. I spent more time doing that than anything else writing in there. Whether I was encoding, decoding, or plotting, yeah, that's what I did. So I can't speak enough to the value of a waterproof notebook, and then the map and SOI card. So One Shepherd does use SOI, which is a code word system, because we don't have crypto on our radios. So anyways, crypto can be broken. There's rabbit trail would go down, but I'm gonna skip it. USGI compass, it's the best for working at night. That's why I carry it even today, but that was the period correct one for this kit anyways. Next to that is a little Ziploc bag with a little meal pack or snack pack. This one is set up for cold weather ops. So I've got extra matches, bouillon cubes, and hot chocolate, stuff like that. But it's mainly representative. I always keep some snacks in addition to whatever my emergency ration is going to be. Main thing for that, again in the cold, it's hypothermia, fend off, it's morale, and then it helps keep your energy up because you never know when you're going to need it. Below that is a little headlamp. That's representative. I don't have the headlamp I took to East Wind anymore. It's passed away, unfortunately. But I basically got the dimmest, period-ish correct red headlamp that I could get. The dimmer it is, the less splash light you're going to be sending off in the middle of the night when you're trying to write a grid down on your notebook. Whistle. My second East Wind, I ended up being a squad leader for a little while. The whistle was my secondary form of communication after hand signals or talking. Next to that is a little camo cream compact. It is absolutely imperative to keep cam cream on you if you're using it because it just wears off. Eating, drinking, scratching your face, all those things wear it off. Got to keep applying it. The red rag, if you've played airsoft, you probably know what that is dead rag. If you die, you put that on your head, sit down, wait a certain amount of time, and then follow whatever the game rules are from there. So that's my simulated medical equipment. Back then, this is pre-IFAC world, so typically you just get a pressure bandage of some sort. And so that rode where my IFAC would be. After that, I've got my 6 primary magazines, so 6 on the kit, 1 in the weapon, and my sidearm. I did not carry spare magazines for my sidearm at that time. The primary reason for it was because we were using airsoft outside of the weather and normal use of airsoft weapons, so they would break down pretty frequently, and I wanted to be able to get back without dying. So, oh, and across the top, arguably the most important, that's my poncho roll. So that is a would-be tied into a poncho, USGI poncho, which is then snapped to look like a little sleeping bag. It's easy to unsnap if I want overhead cover instead. It's easy to untie the system if I want to actually use the poncho as rain cover. But most often I use that as warmth. If we were, say, extended overnight and told to set an ambush for 6 hours, in the middle of the night you can freeze your butt off doing that. So that was my emergency warmth. And yes. Oh, so if you are watching this specifically putting together your One Shepherd kit for the first time, here are a few other things that I carry now that would be an addition or alternate for this. I do carry a fighting knife. Definitely not required for One Shepherd. It's a primarily woods tool for me, and it's also a weapon that never runs out of ammunition. I also have my notebook in a cover now. Allows me to keep my pencils with it so I don't lose them, and keeps it a little bit more waterproof. And then I also have gone to using glow tape as my light to ride at night. So I charge that up before we go out at night, and that stuff stays pretty good. I've also changed my headlamp. The main reason for that is, so red is required at One Shepherd. This also does blue and IR, so that allows me to signal in other ways than I would be able to with just a red light. Clear eye protection, I consider this a must because of the pokey spiny trees in Missouri. You don't want to lose an eye. Spare batteries in a holder because everything nowadays takes batteries. Also on the edge of signaling, a lot of times your unit will be given a specific color, so I carry chem lights for that. I use the Source hydration bladders, so I have one of the QD quick fill adapters. Time crunch is part of the learning at One Shepherd, so be prepared to reset your kit quickly and efficiently. That helps me do that. I carry a pocket knife just because it's a good tool to have. I carry a wrist GPS. If you are going to be taking the land nav course this semester, then I will get to teach you all about how GPS is cool, but can't be relied on without a map and compass. So if you have one, bring one. If you don't know how to use it, then probably leave it at home. And then if I'm an RTO or some sort of leadership capacity, I bring my protractor in the field if I'm going to be doing a bunch of plotting and fun like that. So this is just a little protractor case, and it's got a couple different protractors and then some instructions, call for fire, that kind of thing, or I might be using a protractor in the field. Okay, so let's go now that we've seen the equipment, we'll go to the load carry system and see how it's all carried. Okay, so here we have the kit put together. You'll notice that our E&E kit is not any way associated with the LBE. That stays in the pants pocket so that it is always with me. Same idea with the map, SOI, notebook, and writing utensils. Typically those would go in my chest pocket on my BDU or on my armor. These are sensitive items, so I have to check them all the time, make sure I haven't lost them, and it's important to have them close by. So moving on to the actual kit. This is Alice based, like I said. Starting with the belt, it is just a regular Alice belt, nothing fancy there. I do have a strip of the USGI foam sleeping mat attached in here with paracord and zip ties. It was free, and I was already cutting a strip off my sleeping mat to make it narrower and fit on the side of my ruck rather than on the top, so that worked out great. And this is plenty comfortable. Nothing fancy with the belt. The shoulder harness is from an LBE 88. Back in that period, the concept was more pads, more better. So these pads are much bigger. I primarily did this so that I had the H harness in the back. I like it better than the Y concept. I feel like it transfers the load a little bit better. It's a little bit more stable. If you're going to do this mod, you do have to destroy a Y harness because you need the front straps out of that. You'll notice things are kind of set up a little bit atypical. I've got my compass pouches sitting on these vertical straps. This is my medical, my dead rag, and then this is my compass. Ranger bends, hold everything nice and neat, and hold my drinking straw. If you want to know about modifications like this paracord, malice clips, all the other fun, I have all that on the Milson Perspective. There's lots of paracord and duct tape mods you can do with Alice. It's almost endless. So if you haven't been to those and you're interested, go to the Milson Perspective. Just search for Alice. You'll find quite a few articles there. Load carriage wise, starting from left, going around to the right. I'm left-handed, so my mags are over here. I do have 2 mag pouches on this side, and these are kind of my slush fund pouches. So if I'm handed a smoke, if I'm handed a flare, whatever I'm handed, it gets shoved in here. Also, I carry my snacks, my camo compact, the whistle, the headlamp, that kind of stuff in here. Just kind of, this is in a world before admin pouches, and these just, stuff gets moved around as needed for today's mission. Holster, self-explanatory, 1 quart canteen pouch. Let's spin it around. You'll notice that this does not lay flat. That's one of the nice things you can do with Alice is you can scrunch things together because the way it's designed, it fits on your body just fine, but it won't lay flat, so you can actually get more on there. Just one of the things that's nice about it. So single quart canteen, cup, and stove. The butt pack has my poncho roll and my MRE. If it was super cold out, I'd also put an M65 liner in here or a Gore-Tex, but not very often as it kind of gets pretty poofy. Next up is the 2 quart canteen, and then 2 mag pouches with my mags. I pulled the little dividers out of all the mag pouches just so they're more versatile. So I can run 7.62 mags or put belted ammunition in here. I did remove all the grenade loops to make this all sit closer together, except for the front ones. We were issued these things called pea grenades at Eastwind that were pretty neat. So I retained the front 2 grenade loops so I could use those. That's the LBE. So now that we have our second line, or whatever we're going to call it, we need to make sure that it's going to mesh with a couple other things. One of those main things is our ruck, so our sustainment load, whatever enables us to be out overnight or work multiple days. And it's got to mesh with our armor. And we've already confirmed that it's going to mesh with our mission. So we know this is primarily for dismounted, non-mount patrolling. So we're not super worried about it, about fitting in vehicles that aren't troop transports, and we're not super worried about fitting in and around buildings. That's why we can afford to have this extra width added to our waist. It keeps it's the most comfortable way to carry equipment. It's the least cumbersome. It's quick on and off, but it does make you rather girthy. Yep, using that word, which is pretty contraindicated with vehicles and mount. And if you don't know why, learn. But with this mission, really our main concerns are, is it going to mesh with our ruck, and is it going to mesh with our armor? So that's what we're going to work on next. Okay, so here we can see this load carry system integrated with the Pasket vest, which is what it was designed to work with. Later versions of ballistic vests came out that worked in varying degrees of capability. This one specifically has shoulder armor that snaps over the shoulder straps on your harness, which really integrates the whole thing, so you can take it on and off as one piece, which is super nice. You also have some handy pockets on the front and pin loops, which that's typically where I would keep my notebook and things like that. So this kit absolutely does pass the integration with armor technique. Putting the armor underneath is nice because it allows us to integrate the whole package. What that does not allow us to do is wear the kit without armor without going through the change-out process, which is not a huge deal, or was not a huge deal for Eastwind. It would be in other situations. The other test we talked about was, does it integrate well with our ruck? So here we've got just the standard Alice medium, arguably one of the most well-known rucks in the whole world. It is really good at not breaking, which is arguably one of the most important things in a military ruck. It's got a lot of interesting little features. You can add pouches to plus up the carrying capacity. It's super easy to upgrade, just like the rest of Alice. Like I've got Fastex buckles on my main straps. These are all pass-through pockets, so it's super easy to carry your pioneering tools and all that other fun. It is sort of water resistant, and you can run it with or without a frame, which I'm not sure if that was part of the original design, but it's a super neat feature. I run it without, as you can see. And this goes directly into the integration of the two. So you can see that the butt pack makes a nice shelf. What we're going to do is, typically with the frame, you use a waist belt to transfer that load to your pelvis, because you do not want your ruck sitting on your shoulders. That's the worst idea ever. Don't do it. You might think you can tough it out, but it sucks. Anyways, there's a lot of physiological reasons, but using all the spine, upper body muscles to carry your ruck all the time is just going to wear you out. You're going to be combat ineffective before everybody and be that guy. So don't be that guy. Transfer the load to your hips. And the way we're going to do that with this kit is it sits on the butt pack. The butt pack actually acts as a waist belt for the ruck. Now, this is not the best way to do this, and in our third and final installment, I'll show you how I do it nowadays, because I have a different belt kit that I'll be bringing to One Shepherd. Those of you who are going to be there this semester, you'll get to see it if you nerd out about this stuff. I do. So here we are. But again, this will transfer the load if you have it all set up right, and the ruck doesn't sit nearly as high as it looks like it does. It's just because the armor's slumping down. The other thing I briefly mentioned was cutting down the sleeping mat. I cut it down to shoulder width. That way it runs up and down the side of my ruck, and this is just paracord ran through the pouch attachments to hold it on. You could even integrate a small, like a little cord lock of some sort to make this real fast on and off. But that's how I carried my sleeping pad at Eastwind. I know Matt, the guy who kind of inspired this video, went over what's in his ruck. This is going to be very similar, but I'm going to go through my ruck contents kind of at the end, because going through this stuff is going to be basically the same as his. Really not a lot of educational value. So, I mean, really you're just talking about a sleep system and a way to make shelter for yourself, and then supplies to plus up your level 2, your second line, whatever we're calling it. So additional water, additional food, additional ammunition, and then whatever else you get told to carry, whether that's a radio, first aid, you know, a unit first aid kit, demolitions, fencing, obstacle creation, supplies, or pioneering tools. The list is super long, and that's why it's important to have a ruck that can do lots of things. This isn't backpacking where we know exactly what we're going to carry before we step off. Halfway through the mission may change, and now you have to carry or give up something. So being able to adapt is critical in a military ruck. That's something that Alice does extremely well, even though I don't really think it's super comfortable to carry. It's just painful, but it does its job really well. One thing I did want to mention is if you do decide to go with the frame. The frame is too long. It was not designed to be used with pouches on the back of your load carry, or especially with the butt pack. Their initial concept of the butt pack was it would replace a ruck for training. It is actually a training backpack. So don't think that if you do run the frame, unless you've had it modified, which our S4 has, his is shorter, so he can run the frame ruck and have it sit on his butt pack. Super fancy, super nerdy. It's awesome. Don't think that this is all going to mesh if you do have the frame. So either ditch the frame or ditch the butt pack and rearrange your pouches. Just make sure you put all this on together before you come out, because I've seen way too many people show up with literally a tote of parts, individual pouches and belts and stuff, and we staff and cadre go through and build them a kit out of all the crap that they brought. And they usually end up borrowing a bunch of stuff out of their shepherd's closet because what they brought is just not gonna work. Again, don't let that dissuade you from bringing what you have. If you know how to use what you have, bring it and test it. There's no better place to do that. One last trick, not super one shepherd specific, but very Alice specific. The 5-quart canteen hangs extremely nicely inside the frame of the Alice ruck. That way you don't have to have a bunch of canteens and stuff hanging on the outside of your ruck to get caught on things. This enables you to carry bulk water for your unit. So if you find yourself needing that capability, there's that. A couple last points, other ways you can rig up Alice. So this is another kit I put together. Obviously there's nothing in it. Setup very similar. It's empty, so I can actually lay it flat. We've got the two compass pouches on the vertical with the LBE 88 harness. This just has 2 mag pouches. This basically just changes from having the single quart or the 2-quart canteen to having all single quart canteens. This is very popular. The nice thing about setting up a kit like this is it's great as a loaner kit, because it's completely ambidextrous, right? There's no left or right-handed, because everything's identical on either side. So if you've got a buddy, that's a good way to set up a kit. The last thing I'll note about Alice and LBE 88 is the ability, if you do get an LBE 88, where's my rig? So let's hit this one real quick. I see a lot of these show up. My concept of the LBE 88 is that it's a super good parts donor. If you're gonna run Alice, I like, as you have obviously seen, pulling the shoulder harness off and putting that on my Alice belt. I do not like these because they're too prescriptive. The only thing I can carry with this, so one of these is a single mag, so that one only carries 1 magazine. There's 2 magazines, so there's my 6 and 2 grenades. That's all I can carry with this. I can substitute, I can put a compass in here, and that's pretty much it. This is really too small to be a snack pouch or really anything other than a compass pouch. And these aren't both doubles, so I can't shove a squad radio or really anything of use. It has to be a single magazine. So it's just not super adaptable. That said, if you do have one and you like it and you want to modify it so it becomes more adaptable, one of the ways to do that is get you a bandolier and sew that on in place of so this is just the same panel. I took the pouches off and I sewed a bandolier to it. One thing, so this is basically just 3 double mag pouches, so that's your 6 mags. Also realize you're not always going to have 6 mags in one Shepherd. You might have less, you might need to carry more, usually less. But 6 is a good, I like to carry 6. I think Matt said he carries 4. I shoot a lot typically, so whatever. Maybe that just means I need better accuracy. But I digress. So this is one way to modify the LBE 88, and then this specific mod was for a grenadier, so that the other side could be all the 40 mic grenades. So this gave you a half of a loadout of 40 mic grenades. Back then they decided that you needed like 30 some odd grenades to be a grenadier. So this gave you a half load. You got 2 of the long flare rounds and 7 frags. So I have 2 of these, one each for left-handed and right-handed. But that's more airsoft because we don't get to play with real frags. But if you wanted to put other pouches on the other side, admin type stuff, that would be a way, if you like to sew, to run an LBE 88 and make it good and useful. Other platforms that I would recommend, other than Alice, to start off your one Shepherd journey, I do definitely recommend Alice. Everybody start there. It's cheap, it's effective, you can't go wrong with it. The British kit is also pretty stinking good. They have a lot of pre-sewn pouch belt kits that are super generic. The Australian style is literally 5 of the same exact pouch. So you don't get one big butt pack. All their stuff is designed where the rucks ride on the pouches, same style as this, as I've shown you. But they make good stuff. With anything, be careful of knockoffs and cheap lookalikes. Russian kit is pretty good, but almost all of it is very specific towards AK magazines. And obviously AR mags will fit, but you'll be fishing them out. So good luck with that. Also, again, lots of copies. Israeli kit is pretty squared away. It's designed for, they have a load-bearing vest, kind of LBE 88-ish, where pouches go around the belt and then up onto the chest. It's pretty squared away. And then there, every other country copies those kind of 3 designs. Really the Russian or the LC-2 design. So there's tons of options out there. Go with something that's going to be robust and relatively inexpensive for your first time. You'll get it put through the ringer and you'll figure out what you hate and what you like, and then you can go spend money and look cool. Obviously, I understand rule number 1 is look cool, but still, use this as a learning opportunity and you won't regret it. Okay, so next, part 2 will be a kind of more modern mount vehicle system, chest rig plate carrier type stuff. So stay tuned for that. That'll be up soon after the One Shepherd semester. If you're not watching this soon after it's made, it is May right now. One Shepherd is the first week of June, and so in the coming weeks after that is when I'll post parts 2 and 3. So stay tuned.